Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the TripleJump podcast. It's a video game podcast. My name is Ben.
My name is Peter.
And my name is Ashton.
We went on the television.
We did.
This time last week, we had just been on the television.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy, wasn't it?
It was pretty crazy. It was
It
manic.
was
I
crazy.
almost don't really remember it. I feel like it was like a dream.
Does feel
that
like
I
a dream.
had.
The fact that we were scooped up as soon as we finished it and then just deposited at our respective front doors.
Yeah.
I think definitely helped the dream-like feeling.
It was just like waking up.
It was like,
did I?
I'm back home now.
It was
and
like-
it's 3 in the afternoon.
It's
and I'm done.
5:45. You wake up and then suddenly it's 3 p.m. and you're home. And something happened in the middle, but it didn't feel real and didn't we didn't stop. The second we left
Had a
the
thousand
hotel.
texts
Yeah, I
on
was
your
gonna say, you
phone.
have 20 messages saying,
Yeah.
great job on the TV. You're like, on the what?
People you haven't even heard of since school have tuned in. I have a friend who lives in Australia who I have not spoken to since secondary school who messaged me and I was like, what are you doing? Go to bed.
So, yes, in case you missed it, we were on CBBC last Saturday, live on Saturday Mashup, which is sort of a kids' variety show,
Yeah.
I suppose. They
Live
have
Saturday
cartoons,
morning
they're
show.
live, they have games and things like that. We were involved in a number of segments. You guys got to race around in little cars.
Broke a car.
You did break the car.
Yeah, you did break the car. Yeah.
We answered some questions. We all squeezed in a caravan.
Did a
we
game review.
Reviewed the game.
Yeah.
Reviewed Sonic.
Yeah.
You played
Watched
a
watched a
game as
teenager
well.
get slimed.
Yes,
Yeah.
we did. Yeah.
Quite a lot of slime.
lot of slime.
Yeah.
It was crazy outside. Watch a live musical performance. as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
yeah.
cool. Got told by children that they would have preferred it that we got slimed,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also that our cheats recommendation was not what they wanted.
He looked well grumpy when I told him the cheat, and then I was like, "That we wanted." And he went,
It was such
No.
an open
and I
question,
was like,
though.
"I don't know. I
One
can
of
tell
the-
you the motherload cheat in The Sims, but
Exactly.
what's that
What
going to
use
help?"
is that? Like, for
You're
context,
5.
if you didn't know, we were asked questions by the audience. The boy said, "Do you have any cheats? Do you know any cheats?" That was the question, and there wasn't even time for us all to answer. Ashton gave a funny answer, which was, "I
Hand
would
the
get."
controller to someone who's better at the game than you.
Yeah, and we had stuff we might have said, but it was sort of a bit rushed.
Hmm.
So he didn't get a cheat code. But what was he expecting? Like, oh yes, here's
Left,
the GTA 3
up,
weapons
left,
cheat,
down.
which I do know off by heart.
Yeah.
Not any use to a boy of
To a boy.
10.
To a boy. Up, down, left, right, A, B,
Choo,
A, B,
choo, choo.
start, or some choo, choo,
BA,
choo.
select, start. Yeah,
Yeah, you
here's
can-
the Atari code.
you can do
Is
that.
that any use to you? Probably not.
What do you want?
Tell me which
Cheats
game
don't
you want
really
cheats
exist
for.
anymore.
No, they don't.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
the internet. Anyway, weird. He did look really grumpy. The fact that
Funny
he was.
though.
Did you ask him, or was it the host that said, "Is that what you
said
wanted?"
That what you wanted,
Yeah.
and he said no, and I went,
No.
She shouldn't have asked a follow-up question, really. Like
No.
she was asking
Should
for
have just
that,
moved on.
that dismissal. But it was incredible. And thank you
was
for all your nice
brilliant.
messages, everyone who tuned in. It's still
Mm-hmm.
on iPlayer if you want to watch it. And thank you to the BBC for having us. Everyone was really lovely.
they were.
We were told it was organized chaos, and my God, that's definitely what it was.
It was
Yeah.
very chaotic and very organized.
Yes.
It was like, we
It
had
was
a dedicated
unbelievable.
man who just shepherded us around the room constantly.
and told us what to do, and told us he'd open his big booklet and he'd
Remind
say, "Now
us of
this is what's going to happen.
what we
You're going to
said."
say this. This is where you're going to be. If you get confused, I'll push you in the right direction.
Here's your water bottle.
Here's your
Yeah.
here's
Hydrate.
your water bottles. Take a
Do you need
sip.
the toilet?
Need a
Okay,
wee?
I will
I'll
escort
take
you to
for
the
a wee.
toilet. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
it was
it was fun.
a crazy experience and
It was,
an
yeah.
absolute honor. And hopefully, if we get to go back in the future, we'll be the ones being slimed.
That's what they
Although
said
it
to
did
us.
look very unpleasant.
Yeah, it
so,
did.
Yeah,
so
absolutely not.
Does it? Maybe not. However, we do have our very own version of Saturday Mashup coming soon called SMTJ
We do.
Live.
Well, the SM stands for Saturday Mashup.
It
Oh my
does.
God.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
Live on Saturday, the 23rd
Mm-hmm.
at 11 a.m. on YouTube, we'll be doing our own variety show, but not for children, which will be a combination of not cartoons, but VTs, pre-recorded bits and pieces, main menu, Barbara Bonkoff, etc. Live rules boss, live games, other such sections, and all sorts of amazing things like that.
Yeah.
Coming really soon, and you are running out of time.
Yeah,
If you
get
want to
involved.
submit your face to our shill wall, you need to go to patreon.com/team TripleJump and get involved there. There are relevant posts. We're going to start putting together those final few assets next week because the show is next Saturday. So
Yeah.
do come along and watch live. And if you're a patron, get stuck in. This is your last chance.
Yes,
That's right.
You have been warned.
Also, Tatapeel open? Still open?
It's open till
14th? Help.
it's open till Monday.
Open until
you have 2
Monday.
days left to send it.
Please-
There is a grace period, so if you do send it on Monday, we'll probably still have time to open
If you're in
it.
the UK.
As long as it's not like going to take 3 weeks to arrive, then we might not have time
Yes.
to open it. Thanks everyone who has sent stuff.
Yeah.
I'm getting twitchy.
Me too.
I can
Get very
see
excited.
I can see the pile from my seat, and it's making me twitchy. So please send it quicker. Send it now
Yeah.
so that I've got less time to wait. Please.
People have asked in previous years, please don't drop stuff off at the office directly. There are people working here, and it's unfortunately we can't do that. So please do post things. As Ashton said, if you're in the UK, there's a good chance it'll still be here in time. If you're abroad, maybe not.
But anything that does arrive, even if it's after the date and after the unwrapping date, the unboxing date, we will open everything and enjoy everything, and it will all still be. It's not going to go in some sort of incinerator, but
No,
sadly, it won't make it to the video if it's late.
Also, a couple of people
come with
have
that.
been clever enough to actually reach out to us directly via our email address, which is available on our website and also on our YouTube channel if you go to the About Us page. I'm not just going to read it out here, just in case. And they have sent us, or if they've ordered something from Amazon and it's not let them put a gift note in, they've actually emailed us the context of what they've sent and whatever note they'd like read, and we've printed those off and they're ready to go.
We'll have those to hand.
As and when we find your tat that may or may not have a note. So if you're worried that may happen to you as well, send us an email, let us know what it is, and we will do our best to match you up on the day.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Stunning.
Each and every week, we're sponsored by a very real video game adjacent sponsor. It helps us keep that bulb on up there. Dead Island 2 The Spider is next door, I think, because he's got loads of babies.
Oh, good.
Oh.
Yeah,
Love that.
He's in the studio.
Right.
We've seen him. When you go on the web, he moves. So
Cool.
he's alive. He's just hanging out. That's it. He does that.
Yeah.
It's great. That's exactly what he does.
Brilliant.
I have the ad read in front of me right here. Would you
Well,
like
that's
to hear
fantastic
about
Can
news.
you read
Yes.
it, please?
So you may know that there's a game coming out called Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake,
Yeah.
which is a bit of a mouthful.
HD2D.
HD2D remake.
Exactly. Now,
We need to come up with a better name for that style. HD2D. I hate
it's
that.
not good enough. No.
We need a name for it. Anyway, carry on.
On reflection, this might actually satisfy your frustration.
Oh, good.
Because they were sat there and they thought, they being Square Enix, the cat's mother, they were sat there and they thought, there's got to be a better name for this. There's got to be a name that encompasses everything in a concise manner. So we don't want to confuse people with HD 2D. So why don't we just open the floodgates and we include as many platforms as possible so everyone can enjoy this game and everyone knows what this game can really bring. So here is the new name for Dragon Quest. It's so small. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake. They've renamed it Dragon Quest 3 HD HDR 1D 2D 3D 4D VR AR 4K 8K Remake Remaster Reimagining.
Right.
Stunning.
Yeah, which I think is way better than the old name.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be available soon. You may want to, if you've got like a shelf that you store games on, you may want to like cut a little hole in the shelf above because they've got a special case
It's
for
too
it.
big.
Because it's really long.
Right.
Because the spine has
HD
to.
too
they
big.
could make the font smaller, but they've just started to make the case
They
bigger.
can't actually make font that small.
No.
They
Right.
they wanted to fit it on
They're
one
like a
box. They
micro
couldn't-
dot, like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
Spies,
yeah.
where all the text is in a tiny little.
They said that to the printers. The printer said, no, unfortunately, you've got to go for long box. If
Right.
you want long name, you've got to have long box. So lock your pre-orders in now for Dragon Quest 3 HD HDR 1D 2D 3D 4D VR AR 4K 8K Remake Remaster Reimagining.
What's the what is it if you simplify the algebra of HD 2D? Is it 2HD squared or
don't know.
something?
I think-
I'm not sure about
I think
that.
that's a Fast and Furious film. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure which one it is.
Yeah, I think you
Someone
might be
needs
right.
to let us know in the chat, in the comments.
All the mathematicians in the
Yeah.
comments.
It's not real, unfortunately.
What?
It's just Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake. So make sure you put that bit of your shelf back in that you've just sawed out, having heard me say that you need
It's
to
a normal
cut out.
size box.
It's a normal size
Only
box.
just though.
I don't actually know if it's coming in a box. I don't know. It might just be
It
digital.
might, I don't know.
Not entirely sure.
okay.
But either way, that game is real and is available soon. But that is not available. We're actually sponsored by our wonderful patrons over at patreon.com/Team TripleJump. If you go and support us there, you can submit questions to this podcast. It's dead easy to do. You just find out what's happening in the news and write us a question about it and stick it on the Patreon post that goes out every single week. You also get early access to worst and weirdest games, exclusive access to rules boss and main menu, and time running out, access to your SMTJ rewards so you can get involved in the show. Patreon.com/Team TripleJump. TripleJumpShop.com as well is where you can buy some wonderful merchandise. I think we're all rocking some today. Yeah, look at that. Lovely.
Yeah.
Christmas time's coming up. Buy something for yourself or a loved one.
Yes.
That's what I would suggest. So some things happening this week.
Absolutely, there is.
Yeah, we've talked about us having been on the telly. SMTJ is coming up. Tat Appeal's closing. But also, Worst Games Ever, episode 150.
Whoa.
On TripleJump.
On
150.
On TripleJump.
Oh, I see.
It's nearly 200 if you look elsewhere, if you include everything. But it's very exciting. We picked a special sort of relevant game, didn't we? And we had a wonderful time. So patrons will have seen that already because it went out a week early for patrons because of our special week off. But for everyone else, it's out this weekend. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yesterday or tomorrow?
Tomorrow. Also out this week, we ranked every Final Fantasy game from worst to best, and there's a lot of them.
And you can stop asking about them in this video in the comments now. We've actually made
done
it.
We've done it.
Finished.
Made it.
So you better watch
Now
it.
you have to make sure
Yeah.
it does well.
Watch it, please.
Watch it several times on several different devices.
Yeah, at the same time.
That'd mean a lot for us.
Thank you.
Of course, the news videos have been going out this week as well. Been doing those. So thank you everyone who's been tuning in and watching those. And now it's time, I think, for question 1.
What, like 10 minutes into the podcast? Yeah.
Yeah, actually nearly 12 minutes.
Oh, my God. All right. It comes from Rock Reese, who says, "Hey, Bab, I know there's a lot to talk about with PlayStation right now, but I had a sort of blanket question about them. Do you find PlayStation in danger of Ubisoft or Ubisoft level homogeny? My question mainly stems from PlayStation sequels. I like them. The sequels to Spider-Man and God of War were among my favorite games of their respective years. But I can't shake the feeling that they're just providing more of the same without vision of a complete, mechanically distinct vision for how they wanted to progress. For example, Ragnarok, when you have to unlock abilities again for like the first half of the game, as opposed to something like Jedi Survivor, where you have everything you had from the previous game." Thanks, Rock Reese.
Thank you, Rock
Thank
Reese.
you, Rock Reese.
Well, I can kind of see Rock Reese's point in a sense, which is that I think there's an argument to say there is some shared DNA between PlayStation's kind of single player first party games. If you kind of look from one to the other, you know, you're going to be walking into a room, examining things on a desk, going, haven't seen this thing in years, or whatever. You're strafing around the room, picking up items. It's over the shoulder, third person. Yeah, there's some shared DNA there. However, I don't think it's fair to make a comparison to Ubi worlds just yet, or probably ever. I think Ubisoft are infamous for the fact that some of their games are mechanically identical, or at least, have the same game exactly twice, but
Some have a bird, some have a drone.
exactly that.
So different.
You
Look,
climb the tower, you climb the tree.
Yeah, you
climb
climb
a
a
pylon.
big pylon.
yeah.
A radio tower. They're different.
Different
Peter.
thing, Peter.
If you reskinned some assets from one Ubisoft game to another, you would be able to trick people into thinking it was the same game. Whereas...
What do you mean, like if you made their arms that you can see blue and let you fly on a big bird instead of a plane?
Yeah.
That you might think it's like a
Forest
Avatar game or something.
instead of city.
Yeah.
I'm just, it's
that what you're
controversial.
saying?
It's a hot take,
Is that
but
what you're
that's
saying?
what I'm saying, yeah.
Whoa.
Whereas if Kratos was swinging through New York City, I don't think you would necessarily think it was the same game.
He's basically Venom.
Yeah, he is.
Kratos is basically Venom.
So I don't know if that's a fair kind of, if the level of that comparison is reasonable. But, I would also argue that, there's probably a completely separate discussion to be had, full stop, about is it annoying when you play a sequel and your character has to relearn everything they knew in the previous game, especially if there's not an
Yes.
in-universe reason
It
why
is
it's happened.
annoying.
At least, it's a big cliche, but at least give me amnesia, or, oh no, I've got spider flew, and now I've forgotten how to swing webs.
Literally in God of War 2, the original trilogy, Kratos was de-godded, and that's why he lost all his powers.
Yeah,
and then
so sometimes they give you
he
a
learned
reason.
new powers, different powers, which is probably the way to do it.
I was pleasantly surprised in Jedi Survivor when, suddenly it was you start the game and he has everything, because I totally expected him to, for some reason, feel like he had to go through a load of training again. But that was
Just
good.
do like they did in Lara Croft, the most recent trilogy, where every single game began with like a plane crash where she lost all of her belongings and had to go and find them again.
Yeah. So I think that's almost a separate discussion.
Can't wait for Kratos to go down in a plane crash.
Yeah.
My axe!
Find his beard.
My blades.
So that's definitely something that is irritating, and I think probably all of us don't like to see that. It's best if it's avoided. But then you have to think about new players coming in. Do they want to be overwhelmed with a dozen abilities that you sort of is required reading? But whether that is kind of evidence for PlayStation becoming homogenous, I don't think that's necessarily one and the same.
I wonder if PlayStation feel the same, in that if they are aware that the games that they're putting out are 95% sequels or franchise games, and that is why we see them going into things like live service games and online games, because I think you are right that most of the games coming out from PlayStation, if not all the games we're currently aware of that are coming out from PlayStation first-party studios, are almost entirely sequels or franchise games. And that's not a bad thing. I think that that's kind of happening across the entire industry at the moment. We've talked about it before, about like the safety of a sequel in this world is that there is already a fan base that will play them. So I wonder if maybe what we're seeing from PlayStation in their live service and their attempts to do something different are potentially to try and avoid this homogeny. I do think that it's like never going to be on the same level as Ubisoft, because lucky for PlayStation, they have a whole bunch of studios that are working on games that have differing mechanics and stories and everything. Your Insomniac game is never going to be the same as your Horizon game, for example. There's obviously mechanics that we've joked about seeing across various different games, like the grappling hook. Now every game has a grappling hook or similar mechanic, and you kind of see those moments encroaching on each other. But I do think that that's a situation of a symptom of the games industry kind of changing more so than it is just like internally at Sony.
Again, that's not really a Sony issue.
No,
you
that's
see
like in
grappling
everyone.
hooks and all sorts of things right across the board.
Exactly. So I do think that we're seeing maybe a little bit of a strange time for Sony in terms of like, are they going to start putting new games out? Are they going to try more IPs? It would be lovely to see some new stuff from them and their studios. But I don't think, like you say, they'll ever be as bad as Ubisoft are when it comes to their plethora of games that are exactly the same. Your Far Cry's, your Assassin's Creed's, your Blue Folk. Yeah, I mean, Ubisoft have branched out a little bit with Outlaws. It is different, as there is obviously some similarities between the games, but it is different enough that it doesn't necessarily feel like a Ubisoft game, which is nice. We take the mick out of Ubisoft all the time, but that one is different. So maybe we'll see some more of that, or Ubisoft will die and we'll never see anything from them again.
That's also an option.
Yeah.
I completely agree with what you guys have said. I think the comparisons to Ubisoft, I don't think necessarily are apt. Even the criticisms level that the PlayStation sequels, while I think to an extent, while they're valid, are definitely visible in the vast majority of big AAA games coming out across the board, not just from PlayStation specifically. It's in terms of the abilities thing, it's like it's such a cliche. It's always been a cliche, and like as long as games have had abilities and then have had sequels, they've had to find a way to make for the longest time, it felt like the default approach was you have to lose all your abilities and start from scratch in the next game. Thankfully, some inventive solutions have been found in recent years to get around this stuff. But there's always been a reason or some, some problem that the characters had to overcome that's resulted in them losing it. I don't think necessarily that there's any risk of them becoming anything like Ubisoft. The homogenization specifically, as you guys have said, there are a number of studios under the PlayStation umbrella making different things. And admittedly, Sony for the longest time have been known as the AAA narrative-focused action-adventure kind of powerhouse. They have been putting out some more diverse stuff in recent years, but certainly Sony's biggest detractors, I know that our writer, Kat, is not a fan of The Last of Us at all. Any opportunity to take a pot shot at The Last of Us, she will take it.
They absolutely will.
Because she, as far as she's concerned, and there's a little bit of hyperbole going on there, a bit tongue in cheek, but she just describes it as a movie. Like it'd be fun if I could actually play it. And while she is joking to an extent, that is a view held by most people who don't like Sony's approach to those games. So homogenization from that perspective, potentially, but I wouldn't necessarily argue that homogenization is a bad thing, especially if you like those kinds of games and a strong narrative in your games as well. So I think it's apples and oranges to a certain extent between Ubisoft and PlayStation. Certainly there are things to critique, but I don't think they're unique to PlayStation at all. So,
Well, now it's time for a brand new segment that we thought of while we were on CBBC.
Yeah.
It's a segment that we're calling What We Playin'.
It's What We Playing time. Time to talk about the games, what we have been playing. Peter Austin, what have you been playing, please?
I've played a bit of Outlaws this week.
You let him in, the Victorian child.
I've got a gambling problem, and I lost $3,500 gambling.
On the horse races?
No, playing Sabak.
Oh, right.
Are there negative consequences in terms of it's just money?
It's just money.
You can't get thrown in prison.
Well,
I've never lost a Sabak game.
Oh, get you.
Big brag.
Well, I was playing against your boy, the fish man, the guy who lives in a jar.
Yeah.
SpongeBob?
I won that straight away. I had no issue with
I've
it.
never had an issue playing Sabak. Just, you can sit at tables at random whenever you like, and I've never lost a game. And then I sat down and I played against this guy, and I lost 4 games or 5 games in a row.
Maybe they patched it.
Yeah, possibly.
Made
I don't
it
know.
harder.
I mean, I don't have a lot of shift tokens yet,
Right.
so maybe I need to come back when I can.
To be honest, it took me ages to find him, so I probably had a few
Oh,
more.
okay, yeah. I've not actually. It's been slow going for me through this game because I've only been dipping in and out, so I am still relatively early in my playthrough, and therefore I think I probably should have come back later. But it got to the point where I had to save scum. I wasn't going to, but I sat down, started playing, lost $3,500 after playing about 5 games. I was like, well, that's almost all my money. So I then had to just load up an autosave from about half an hour ago because I was like, that was bad.
Cheater Austin.
Yeah. On the other hand, I have been enjoying betting on the cat camels.
farriers.
Yeah, sure, that's what they're called. Because only just have I realised that you find tips in the world, which I'd sort of been passing those by somehow. Like, I guess I've not been reading all the data pads that I find.
One of them was the first one's like just on a data pad.
Yeah.
And then the other ones you kind of either do missions or you hear someone
people saying
talking.
stuff. Yeah. So I found 2 this week and bet on both of them and made some money. So it's like the races from The Last Jedi, and they ride on that big
There's a big camel thing.
in the casino world, and then
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Those are happening all over the galaxy, and you can bet on them. But you'll find notes or hear people
They're
saying
like all corrupt.
yeah.
Oh, right.
So like
they're
the
fixed.
winner's always fixed.
Someone's like taking a fall, or
You can always find out who's going.
they've
for
like
it.
doped up one of the races, like they fed it some special, spice last night or whatever. So yeah, and then you go and bet, and you can win on it. So I played some more of that, and I'm really enjoying it. But also, I don't know if you guys heard, but the GTA trilogy has just had an update, which kind of came out of nowhere. So I dipped back into GTA 3, which is a game I love very much, and I was just sort of going around collecting hidden packages and things like that. But I never actually at the time played Vice City or San Andreas when the new trilogy came out, because I really like GTA 3, and by the time I'd got to the end of that, I had had enough of that buggy-ass game.
Yeah.
So I was like, now's a really good time for me to jump into the others. So I've been playing a little bit of GTA Vice City, and so far, not really encountered anything too buggy or weird, or I mean, it still doesn't look great. Like the patch, it's not a miracle worker, so it's still, the characters still look a bit funny. But I think of the three, Vice City was always the one that looked a bit more stylized anyway, just with all the bold colors and things. So it looks all right, and it's certainly been running okay. So compared to my last experience when I had cars flying all over the place and I was falling through holes in the world, it's been going okay. So that's what I've been playing this week.
I've played a bunch of stuff this week. I have finished Call of Duty. Sorry, that's not true. I have finished Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh, congratulations.
Finished it. I was faffing about still, finishing some things up on Tatooine. I haven't done all of the intel, got all the treasure, leveled up all of the abilities. I haven't done
decided
all of
I
those.
won't be doing that.
Yeah, I did most of them I just did passively, finding stuff, but sometimes there's certain quests that you get where it's there is a cache hidden in a mountain south of an Imperial base. And I'm I am not finding that unless you put it on my map. I'm not doing it. Don't ask me.
You can't make me.
You can't make me. So I haven't done all of those, but I did finish it and I did enjoy it. The final mission goes on a bit, as in you start and then you think oh, this is the mission, and then something else happens and something else happens. I enjoyed it though. I think that game is great fun and I feel like more people should play it because I really enjoyed it. I liked the characters and yeah, I had a wonderful time playing that game. So I've played some of that. I've also played some more Fallout 76.
How's that going?
Fine. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I do enjoy it and I do enjoy playing it with MB. His house got destroyed by...
What?
So...
Someone drop a nuke on him?
No. Some guy who was level 2000 or something.
Was it Phil Spencer?
Just walked over to his house with a big saw and just started taking all of his walls and destroying all of his stuff.
God.
Are you allowed to do that? I thought you couldn't.
Well,
there
you
was no
can.
briefing.
You can. And then he kept killing Ben, and Ben was I'm going to have to put myself on pacifist mode because he just keeps killing me over and over again. And this guy wasn't taking any damage, so I reported him.
Good.
For cheating. And then also, I found his Reddit account, and he's a big nerd because his Reddit account was the same as his name. So I googled it. And I
you
was
did some Googling.
I was I know you. I'm going to report you on Reddit as well, just for winding me up. But yeah, so he destroyed Ben's house. So we're moving eventually.
I love the almost sort of
you.
real world problems that you face
Yeah.
in Fallout 76. There goes the neighborhood. We're going to sell up and go
It's
somewhere
bad here.
else.
We'll go somewhere
You still got
else.
Fallout first?
No, we had it for a week and we got the ammo storage and the junk storage thing.
Do you get to keep using that?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't add anything else to it, but it'll keep the stuff in there.
Okay.
Which is kind of actually a bit annoying because now I have an empty ammo storage box in my house that I can't do anything with. Also played some more Mario Party. I took the OLED Switch home this week from the office because I wanted to play the online stuff. So me and MB, we paid for a month of Nintendo Online and played the Bowser's... I don't know what it's called. There's a Bowser Rumble thing. And Bowser's Kaboom Squad.
Bowser's Kaboom.
Bowser's
That's
Kaboom.
what it's called.
We bring the
Which you
kaboom.
can't play
Don't.
if you haven't got Nintendo Online. However, if you have Nintendo Online, you can play it single player. You just can't even go in to have a look at it unless you have Nintendo Online.
Oh,
Why?
Why?
Don't know.
Here's why.
Just because, apparently. But that's all right. We played it just the two of us and then a bunch of CPUs because you can't also join into a lobby with people online if it's not just you single player. If there's two of you, you can't just play online.
Okay.
But that was fine. Again, just kind of the mini games are fine, but I just don't understand why you can't play it without online. It's a really weird thing. And then the other things I played some Astro's Playroom. Ben let us borrow his VR headset, his PlayStation VR,
There's another time trial out, isn't there? Oh, that not in Playroom.
No,
Yeah.
the VR, the original Astro.
Astrobot Rescue Mission. Is that...
No, the Astro's Playroom, the
The VR
VR
one.
tech
Oh.
demo
Oh,
that they
right.
made before they made the Astro's
The rescue mission.
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
The naming convention on them is proper.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Astro's Playroom is the one that has a bunch of little mini games. One
Yeah, I
of
remember
which
that.
is a mission in Astrobot, only if you play it in 2-player, the other player is just floating around in a little UFO, shooting things, which is really nice. We played a few of those together. And then the last thing I've played is Call of Duty. I've started the single player campaign.
Oh.
I'm having a good time.
Great.
However,
However.
I have beef with Call of Duty
LeBouf.
because I have to go through 3 separate menus
Call of Duty
in
HQ.
order to access
I told you.
the single player mode.
I told you it's good.
And if your PlayStation enters rest mode while you're playing the single player mode, you can't just boot your PlayStation 5 back up and carry on where you left off. No, that is too simple. It kicks you back out to the PlayStation home screen and you have to go through the 3 separate menus in order to get back into the flipping game, of which those menus take ages to load.
What, and then it will still resume when you
It was you when you get in there.
But you have to go through 3 menus.
You have to go through 3
Great.
menus to get back in there to press resume to go back into your mission.
Call of Duty HQ is a travesty.
It sucks. It's awful. And it takes ages to get anywhere. Like you click on, I want to play Call of Duty Black Ops 6, please. And then you sit through a loading screen while it loads that
Then it
game
shows you
up.
some announcements.
And then it says you want to play single player, you want to play the campaign, multiplayer, or zombies. You click, I want to play the campaign, please. And then it's like, cool. That takes a good few minutes to load up. And then you're finally at the menu for the campaign. And you click resume campaign. And then another few minutes go by while it decides where it's going to load you in. I was getting irate about it. It's really annoying me.
I think this says everything you need to know about Call of Duty HQ and how disastrous it is that Call of Duty Black Ops 6, a whole brand new game, is listed on PS5 trophy-wise as DLC for Modern Warfare 2.
Right.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
How does that make any sense?
It's very annoying.
Launchers in general and sort of central hubs are rarely a good thing. Same with The Sims. You know, they're like, oh, we're not going to do a sequel anymore. We're going to do
Project
Sims
Renee.
World or whatever
Yeah.
it's going to be. Yeah, Project Renee.
Yeah.
Rubbish.
But I've played the Call of Duty campaign. I've just done the like semi-open world bit where you're in a little car.
With the grumpy British soldier.
Yeah.
Tells you what to do.
Who keeps shouting at you. I quite enjoyed that actually, just kind of going around like sniping people and trying to take them out. The one thing did annoy me about that though is that if you call it an airstrike, they still know where you are, even if you were like, if you were in a field hiding in a little house and you call it an airstrike about 100 meters away from you, they all know where you are and they'll all start heading towards the little house. And I'm like, how do you know where I am? Like the plane dropped the bomb.
Also, it's very difficult to run people over with your car, I found. They
Yeah.
always dive out the way.
They always dive out the way.
And your squad is useless.
They don't shoot anyone.
The
People start
baddies
shooting
don't
at your
shoot.
car and then you're like, hey guys, I'm driving.
defend,
the
please.
car. The car's going to explode.
And when you get out the car, your squad stands around, and sometimes they shoot, but always the enemy combatants will shoot at you and not your squad.
Yeah.
Don't know. It sounds like a skill issue.
And also, like, whenever you hover over someone to, like, shoot them, they're like, don't do that.
Oh,
They'll
yeah.
spot you.
They
And
do
I'm
keep
like-
saying, that's a risky shot. I wouldn't take
Right.
that.
I'm
And it's
like,
like, I'm going to take that
how
shot,
about
actually.
you shoot the other guy and I'll shoot this guy and we'll move on with our lives.
I did love going through that level with a silenced sniper and just taking out an entire enemy outpost
was good.
just without
Yeah,
anyone.
yeah.
It was
Nice.
great. Like that's a great level, and you're not far from the really good level that I
I'm
enjoy a lot.
excited.
Do you like the little hub house as well with the secrets in it?
Yeah, I just recently paid for all of the upgrades. So now
Oh,
I
yeah.
have the 3 separate rooms that we can go hang out in.
Nice.
And yeah, I'm enjoying it. It is good fun, and it's very reminiscent of like the old COD campaigns that I really enjoyed. So I'm having a good time. Just get rid of that flipping
Yeah,
COD
COD
launcher
HQ
for
is
the
terrible.
love of God.
Do you like the Marvel style intro they do to make you all nostalgic for Captain
show little bits
Price? Yeah, just and then it says
Soap.
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Ghost.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
Literally.
And others.
exactly.
And they show some others from other Call of Duty games. You're like, I don't know.
It's
Who,
that
I don't actually
guy.
know who that is.
Yeah.
Can't remember what he's called. But
Yeah.
it's up there for me this year, I think. I'm really impressed
really
with Black
good.
Ops 6.
Yeah.
Great game.
What have you been playing?
I played some zombies.
Nice.
Played some Black Ops Zombies. Just like, I think I got to round 36 last night on one of the maps before extracting. And I was reaching the point where I had a pack-a-punched ray gun, which is well powerful. And I was running out of ammo by the end of each round and having to spend like 10,000 credits to just buy ammo out of a crate, because you just reach a point where they become sponges. I don't know how people survive any longer than that without cheating or using some kind of hacks. Or exploits, because you do like you can get to round 30, I think, relatively easily as long as you have the right weapons. And then from then on, it's just the difficulty scales massively. And every time I've gotten that high on any of the rounds, on any of the maps, it's just ammo. You just run out of ammo. You can't kill them efficiently enough. But yeah, great. had a fun time. Managed to exfiltrate on both attempts and enjoyed it. Still really good fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing whatever map it is that they release next, so I can give that a go. I played some more It Takes Two. That went on the shelf for a little while and made a little bit more progress with that. Got to the musical bit now, where you're doing all the music stuff.
Oh, like the concert bit.
Yeah,
It's quite near the end.
it is. Yes, I think I'm nearly at the end.
Yeah.
I've just, in fact, at that portion of game, I've gotten to the angels bit where you have to fly around and get the keys, which I remember being a bit of a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
so that was the point where we decided to stop for the night. And other than that, I've still been tinkering away with Pokemon, the trading card game, on my telephone and getting my cards. And I think I've done all of the battles now that I can do against the AI, including the expert difficulty ones. But within each one, there are certain optional objectives you can hit. But the difficulty is so high for me that I'm not going to bother going back through and trying to hit those objectives. It was hard enough just to win, full stop. So as far as I'm concerned, I've finished them. So that's it. Just opening my cards, getting my daily rewards, and that's good enough for me. Still liking it. Got a shiny Charizard last night, no big deal. So it's fun.
Nice.
That's what I've been playing.
Well, I would like to take one of you to the review corner if possible. Who wants to come with?
Can I come
I
with?
don't want to go there again.
That's good, because I'm going with Peter to review corner to talk about Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Oh.
Well, here we are. It's lovely here in Review
So
Corner.
cozy.
Indeed. Somewhere that perhaps two brothers could hang out
Yes,
and have fun
on a
together.
ship, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe. Ships have corners.
Yes.
I think.
Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Yeah.
Can I tell you about it?
Please do.
I'm gonna sugarcoat this a little bit.
Oh.
There's some good things, and then there's some not so good things
Oh,
about this
no.
game. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't like it.
Okay.
It's not caught my attention at all. I don't think I'm gonna go back to it after the time that I have spent with it.
And for
This week.
for context or comparison, are you okay with
For
3D
context,
Mario games?
I loved
Yeah.
the Super Mario RPG
Okay.
remake. I had such a good time
Right.
and I played all of it. I've never played a Paper Mario game,
No.
so I've not played that side of the RPG, but I really liked the remake they did.
Okay. So it's not just a
earlier this year.
genre issue.
No,
it's
no.
Yeah, okay.
But per ASA guidelines, this is technically an ad because we were sent the code by Nintendo. Thank you, Nintendo. Sorry, I didn't like it.
Yeah.
But no money was exchanged in order to cover this game.
No.
Let me tell you about it. So Mario and Luigi land in a world called Concordia. It does not really explain why they're there, how they got there, but they're there.
Okay.
A world that has been split into individual islands after the Uni Tree died. And the
Is
whole...
that under the Unilads brand?
Oh,
or-
yeah,
Right,
exactly.
okay.
The whole style is that it's like this energy. So there's like light bulbs. All of the characters look like plug sockets, and there's all this reference to like energy and like volts and watts and stuff. It's like a lot of the pun names are
Okay.
of watts and
Electricals
energy,
and-
electrical
yeah,
things. You meet Connie, who's lives in the hub island, which is an island called Ship Shape, which is an island that travels around because it's like a boat.
Okay.
And there's also her weird little, not a pig, and he makes a specific effort to tell you it's not a pig, flying piggy bank-like creature called Snoutlet.
Right.
And my favourite thing about Stoutlet, and probably my favourite thing about this whole game, is the first time you meet him, he says, "These are not nostrils, these are my eyes." And I just imagine that there's some art designer who
Yeah.
was like, "No, that's its eyes, they're not nostrils." So he's great, but he comes with you all the time. Well, I say he's great. He talks a lot.
Right.
One of my biggest issues with this game is that there's almost constant things to read, things popping up, conversations being had. There's a lot of talking done by the characters, but also a lot of information is given to you in pop-ups or big blocks at the top of of the screen telling you what's happening. But those are such a big font that it's 5, maybe 10 words per speech bubble. So you're skipping through a lot.
Cycling through, yeah.
Yeah, and there's just a lot of talking, and they'll almost ask you constantly if you need a refresher on how to do things. Like, do you know how to pick people up? Like, yeah, I've just done that in the game a second ago. I picked something up. Like, they're constantly being like, do you know what's going on? And then you say yes. They're like, oh, smarty pants. And I'm like, you just told me what was happening. I understand what's going on.
Sorry, I'm keeping track of your game.
Yeah. So the Snoutlet will come with you wherever you go and kind of acts as like your guide and tells you what you need to do. So every island you visit, you need to get to the lighthouse and then connect it back up to shipshape to power up the tree a bit more and connect all the islands back together.
Okay.
So that's basically the premise. You're on a little boat and you pick like what current on the sea to go down once you have the map, and you can go to various islands that have different people on them. There's Rumbler Island is the first one you go to, and then you've got Twist and Sprout Island, which I thought was very funny.
Twist and Sprout.
Twist and Sprout, like Twist and Shout.
Oh, of course.
It's a dancing island.
That's on me.
And then there's like a rainforest one. But yeah, like everywhere you're going, you go there with the specific intention of getting to the lighthouse and reconnecting it back up to Shipshape Island.
Right.
And that's essentially the premise. It looks really good. Like visually, it's a very pretty art style and it's different than other Mario games in the way that it looks. You control Mario and then Luigi will just follow wherever you go. So you walk around and Luigi's kind of meandering around behind you. You press A to make Mario jump and B to make Luigi jump.
Okay.
But most of the time, if you jump as Mario, Luigi will jump as well, which is fine for the most part. However, when you're trying to solve a puzzle or trying to jump across somewhere, and if Luigi falls down, you eventually just kind of get pulled back to where Luigi is. So if you're like going over a big ravine and Luigi falls down, he won't off screen run and come and meet
most
you
games
like
would
most
do.
games. He will try, but then when he can't figure his way out, the game will just basically pull you back to him, whether you were in the right place or not, which I did not like.
So does this game not have 2-player co-op?
No.
Oh, right. Because I've not
It's
really
similar
been
to
following
the other
it.
Mario and Luigi games where it's
Right.
just one player.
Oh, okay.
Which is a shame, I think. I definitely think you could have absolutely had.
Yeah, because just going off the
two-player
ad and not having read anything about it,
Yeah.
it being called Brothership, it just kind of feels very much like this is a game for two people
Yeah.
to play together.
It's not.
Okay.
And then occasionally, my favourite thing, occasionally like Luigi has like brainwaves. And he'll start like a little animation will come up on the screen where he's like thinking really hard, and then he'll be like, "Oh, I know," and he'll has like a little bubble that comes around him and the thing that he wants to do. So that might be like pull out a flower out of the ground and get the coins underneath it, or things like I'm going to stand on this side of the seesaw and then you're going to jump down and I'm going to fling myself up.
Right.
However, it's really annoying because you tell him to stand on one side of the seesaw and he walks to the other side. You're like, no, Luigi, other side, idiot. But yeah, so that is fun in some times but annoying in other times. I just think that the game feels very much for children. Like this is like, baby's first RPG in a lot of ways. Like if you play Super Mario RPG, the combat's really interesting. The world is a bit more not difficult, but like there's puzzles in the world, whereas like all these islands seem really easy to traverse, and it's like very basic puzzles like, oh, this area I can't get up because the tree hasn't grown. Guess I'll go around the other way to get the thing that I need to make the tree grow.
Right.
And it's fine as it is. I just think it's not very interesting. Like it's a bit boring. Like I said, there's loads of talking. One thing about the talking, when Mario and Luigi reply to someone, they kind of go like vaguely Italian, like pizza, pasta, lasagna.
Yeah.
And it cracks me up every time they do it. They just basically scat at the person that they're sitting in front of, which I think is great.
Yeah.
And I think they should do that more in more games.
They should do a Mario movie sequel, but all the
It's just
dialogue
vaguely
is just there.
Italian, sounds. But the combat itself, I have my biggest issue with.
Right.
I did not mind doing combat in Super Mario RPG. I found it quite fun. However, this one, I think it is boring as. You basically are... to do an attack, for the first few hours of the game. Eventually you do gain other abilities by like leveling up and unlocking stuff as the game goes on, but that takes a little while to get to. So for the first few hours of the game, the combat is essentially Mario jumps on an enemy's head. He then jumps back off. He jumps off Luigi and then jumps back on the enemy's head again. You press A to make Mario jump, then you press B, then you press A at the right time to do more damage. I still don't know when I'm supposed to press it for the first 2 jumps. The third jump I can get great or excellent on, but the first 2, I've got no idea when I'm supposed to press it. And then when Luigi's doing attack, you press B, then A, then B. And then when the enemies try and get you, you press A or B at the right time to try and jump on their head and like avoid the attacks and stuff. But it's just boring. Like it's just not fun and just feels like a slog. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. Like I don't mind, you know, enemies being around and them kind of coming at you and like attacking them in most other games. But like for this one, I was like, ugh, another combat. Like I just want to get on with the game. Like it's not fun.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Which is a big shame because I just feel like it looks really good.
Yeah.
And I feel like it could definitely have been a really good game. It's just not got anything going for it in terms of like making it stand out among other Mario games. Like if you want to play a Mario RPG, just play Super Mario RPG.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a shame. Like I said, like the sea exploration is fun, sort of. Sometimes you're just kind of waiting for your ship because they're basically big loops, and you can pick on a map like which loop to go around to get to like an island. But you do kind of just be like, I guess I'll just wait now till I get to the island so I can go around again and like actually see it. I like the pun names. Some of them are good. There's a characters called Build It and Make It. Two of the kind of the kids of one of the people you meet in the first island. You have to go and find them on other islands. And yeah, I think that like it's fine. And if you're looking for like a mind-numbing game, then maybe this one is good. I just wish they didn't talk as much, and I wish the combat was more interesting. So that's what I think of Mario Luigi Brothership.
Oh, well, that's a shame. Have you seen what other reviews are saying?
It's sitting at about 76, I think, on Metacritic, which is very low for a Mario game.
Yeah, it is.
Normally, it's like doesn't break 80.
Kind of aligns with the fact that you're not loving it.
IGN also, they called it 5 out of 10 game. I don't know if I'd go 5 out of 10, but like it definitely, it doesn't have any of the charm of a Mario game.
Yeah, it's a rare Mario dud from Nintendo. I mean, normally even, you know, they have their ups and downs like everyone else, Nintendo, but you know, Mario, I think it's been a while since they've kind of done something a little bit.
We say Mario dud like it's still 70%.
It's a relative
but like
term.
it's definitely it's definitely not captured people, I think, as much as other Mario games do.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Oh well. Never mind. Better luck next time.
Yeah, I guess.
Shall we head back to the non-corner part of this room now?
Yes, let's. Okay. It's time now for question 2.
Great job in the review corner, Ashton.
Thanks, Ashton. And especially Peter.
Thank you.
I thought he did a really good job.
Peter did really good. Chris McVeigh asks, Hi, BAP.
Hi.
Yakuza creator Toshihiro Nagoshi has said in a recent interview that he believes the era of games being judged on how big they are is coming to an end. I know that's something that we all hope to be the case, but for the way things are now, do you think this is really true? I'd like to believe it, but if the reviews for LEGO Horizon Adventures are anything to go by, it's going to take a lot to break the $1 per hour argument. If this era hasn't ended yet, and if you think it should, what changes need to be made to make this happen? I will say that LEGO Horizon has reviewed not great for different reasons than how big it is. There has been some talk about like it's a 7 or 8 hour game and it's like 50 quid, but that's not people's main issue with it. People's main issue with it is that it's a bit bland and they don't really know who it's for.
That sounds like what we've been saying.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a shame, really, because Lego games, you know, when TT are behind the wheel, seem to usually do very well, but this isn't them, is it?
Well,
I think it's like first party on the part of PlayStation.
It seems like the issue is that the Lego game the reason people love Lego games are they're kind of funny and you can destroy everything. But this, according to IGN's review, which was a quite brutal, not gonna lie. No, sorry, Eurogamer's review.
They gave it a really bad score.
They gave it 2 out of 5 stars. And they said that like it felt like you were playing in like a glued down set, and that the humor wasn't like they'd made all the characters into like these humorous versions of themselves where like Aaron is obsessed with donuts and stuff, and like it doesn't land really with anyone.
That's a
Like
shame.
the Lego humor is kind of missing, but also so is the Horizon game story. So
And the Lego kind of break apart the world
Yeah,
aspect.
exactly.
So kind of none of the strengths of any of those bits.
You still interested in playing it?
yes, it's out today at time of recording. I've not pre-ordered it or anything. I might just wait and see and ask for it for Christmas.
I imagine
or
it'll
something.
go on sale before the end
Yeah,
of the year.
I mean,
exactly.
it's averaged like 70 something.
Yeah.
So,
You'll
It's
get,
not awful.
You'll get stuff out of it.
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll have
probably.
a good time.
But to answer Chris's question, I mean, I felt like we hit critical capacity a while ago, or critical map-acity, you might say. Ben and I did not play, and I don't know if you did, Ashton. Red Dead Redemption 2. I can't remember if you
I've
played
not
it.
played Red Dead
No,
Redemption
I just remember Ben and I were quite vocally against it. But also, none of us have played Red Dead Redemption 2, and certainly the reason I didn't play it was partly because it is huge.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of sort of geographical size or physical size, but then there's also all kinds of little bits and bobs and
Getting
almost-
round is so slow.
Yeah.
I got bored and I went off into the wilderness, right? Fell off my horse. It died. And I'm like, great. Now I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's my fault, but I've got to walk into town in real time.
Can you not just whistle a bad horse to
I
come
don't
and get you like
think
you could
so.
in the first game?
They might have changed it now, but I remember that was one of the points where I was like, I really can't be asked with this.
Same remember in the first game, if your good horse fell off a cliff, you could still go wee whip, and then a little sort of sickly bad horse would arrive.
All I could afford was sickly, frail horses.
Yeah.
That's the only. I kept dying.
Poor sad horse.
Yeah. So Red Dead Redemption 2 is one that springs to mind, but certainly there have been various games recently that have kind of put me off to some extent or other purely because of their size. And even games that I am playing and sort of enjoying their main quest or main components, I'm kind of just skipping over the wider parts because I don't have the time. I don't have the mental capacity. Even if I did have the time, I don't want to think about all of these different moving parts to a game. I mean, Star Wars Jedi Survivor is one that springs to mind, which was partly because I was just having technical issues with it and wanted to get to the end. But also, I don't think I was ever that excited to go off exploring all the nooks and crannies of that world. And Outlaws as well, I'm really looking forward to certain bits. Like, I'm not at Tatooine yet. And I think when I get there, I'm going to enjoy every possible little corner I can find because I still like Tatooine, even though, people are a bit sick of it. But I've not really felt that incentivized to go off exploring the planets I've got to so far. I'm doing the main quest, I'm doing the odd quest that seems interesting to me, and then I'm doing bits of exploration where it's needed, basically. But I'm not like, oh wow, here's this huge world in front of me, let's go off and do it. So all of which is to say that I agree that games being judged as being really good if they're really big is, I don't think, a fair assessment anymore. I don't know if it's true that the era has ended though, because there are various companies who are continuing to do this. Basically, I mean, pick any game that is non-linear, single player game, and it's probably got a massive world in it, even today. Ubisoft
I thought
worlds
God
are-
of War was too big,
Yeah.
and that's way supposedly more linear than
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed.
No, yeah, you're right. And you pick an Ubisoft game. I mean, I know they've been playing around a little bit with the scale of their games recently, but it wasn't so long ago we were playing Valhalla, which was huge.
Yeah, absolutely massive.
So it's certainly alive and kicking at the moment, and I'm hopeful that we are moving out of that, and someone like Nagoshi, Toshihiro Nagoshi, if he's saying that might be the kind of prevailing thought amongst big developers, then that's probably a good sign. But is he actually speaking for everyone, or is that just sort of his philosophy and we're going to continue to see massive worlds from the big publishers for the foreseeable future? It's very difficult to know.
Also, to jump in here, Nagoshi-san is one to bloody talk, right? Because Yakuza games are pretty bloody hefty
Yeah.
themselves. I don't know what he's on about here. I mean, if he's talking
Well,
literally,
this is his new studio with his new game that's
Right.
coming out.
Okay.
This is what he was talking about.
that's fair
Takes
enough.
place
then.
in
So
one room.
in the article, he was saying that they had like a big city that they started with, but they have since been scaling it down to work on balancing like content with size.
That is good to hear. I just thought when he
Yeah.
said that, I was like, that's a bit rich coming from you, mate,
Yeah.
considering
But his
all the
new
Yakuza
studio
games are
slash
like
game.
40 hours long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not against an open world. I like an open world game. Quite famously will spend a lot of time milling around a open world game. I do think that it doesn't necessarily, games don't have to be small as long as you can fill a world with enough content and like story and interesting characters to justify having a world that is that big. I think that certain games you'll find that like, well, it's fine that we have this area, but there's nothing in it. One that comes to mind, and I know it's like in the context, it makes sense, but games like Assassin's Creed Origins, where all around the outside of the map, there's all these towns and cities and villages and things to explore. And then right in the middle of the map is a huge desert area, which I understand it's set in the desert. I'm not stupid. However, there was a big area where there's nothing in it. And you find yourself traveling across an area just to unlock it and then being like, there's nothing here. It's just a big section of a map that doesn't necessarily need to be there. I know that Valhalla had a lot of stuff in it. However, I often found myself meandering around for hours looking for something, or like crossing an area where it was like, this question mark is a little house where you get a box and that is it.
Yeah.
That's all you're going to find here. So I think it doesn't necessarily have to be small, as long as games aren't just getting bigger for the sake of being bigger and actually justifying the size of them. I think even Horizon Forbidden West, in some areas, definitely kind of leaned into the bloat, and some areas justified having the spaces that you're in. I don't want to be like, you have to have a smaller map and like condense everything and make it smaller and kind of skew the size of your world, because some of them make sense to have these big areas, like you're in an entire kind of county.
Well,
of a
Spider-Man's
place.
not going to get any smaller, is it?
No,
You know?
exactly.
New York City can't be
Yeah.
anything other than New York City.
Exactly. And I think we saw with the most recent one, like a good size map. It wasn't absolutely massive. It was quick to get around.
Yeah.
There was stuff happening all the time. Like that is kind of like the perfect size. We said with Miles Morales, even though it wasn't a super long story, it was like the perfect size of games for the people who are playing it now. A lot of people who are playing it just don't have the time for these massive games, and I think that maybe we've seen a little bit of a shift in terms of like longevity of stories and how many people are actually playing games at any given time with these big games. I do think that we need to shift our opinion of like, if it's going to cost more, it's going to have to take more hours for me to play, because I think if a game is quality enough and is good enough that you can justify someone spending 70 quid on it, it doesn't have to be the biggest game, you know, on the shelf. It's not going to have to be a 50, 60 hour long game just because I've paid £70 for it. As long as those 30 hours are, and even that's quite big, those 30 hours are filled with content that I feel like is worth the money,
Yeah.
you know?
The dollars per hour thing has sadly been just like part of the conversation for so many years, long before we got games even a fraction of the size that we're getting now. And it's a shame, because it's difficult for me to pass my relationship with big games, because there would have been a time where I loved that stuff.
Yeah.
And over the years, as I've had less and less time and less patience, I just can't stomach them anymore. I don't want to have to commit that many hours to things when I can only realistically play for maybe an hour and a half every 2 days, if at that. And you know, weekends are busy and it's difficult. And also knowing that because of what we do for a living, there's always another game coming along, and you can't really afford to spend too much time in one place. You've got to try and get through stuff for the next thing. So it just makes you have to shelve entire genres essentially, which is a real shame. I mean, pending some kind of massive industry disaster where nobody buys these games anymore and they continue to balloon in cost and it just kind of collapses. I don't really see this changing anytime soon. I don't agree with Toshihiro Nagoshi. I'd love for him to be right, but I don't see any evidence suggesting that big games are coming to an end, because that doesn't feel like that's the case at all. Even the single player stuff, like I said, like God of War Ragnarok, not single player, sorry. Even the stuff that's meant to be more tightly
linear.
Linear.
A linear, more narrative focused experience. They're all experimenting with open things. I mean, Black Ops 6 has done it in a level.
Yeah.
I really like it, but a whole game of that, I don't know how I would feel about that.
Well, Last of Us Part 2, I seem to remember.
The Seattle bit was a bit open.
I mean, you know, again, physically not massive in terms of size, but even just kind of, it just felt like it kept going. And, you know, I was enjoying it, but I was like, what's happening here? You know, this is quite big now.
The Last of Us was very long.
Yeah.
Like, it did feel like it kept going.
Yeah,
Last
that was
of
a
Us
long
2
game
even.
too. Yeah, The Last of Us 2 could have been 2 games, as we've spoken about before. So I don't know. I mean, it definitely ties directly into the perspective that we're trying to ignore, which is that the whole dollars per hour thing. But, you know, if we want to turn the tide, and there's not some kind of industry disaster, maybe shorter, cheaper experiences are slightly cheaper, or just maybe the bigger the game is, they charge more for it.
Yeah.
You know, if you here's a 100-hour RPG, it's going to cost you £85. That would put a lot of people off, and would also probably tell the developers and publishers that maybe people don't want an 85-hour RPG. However, I'm fully aware that I'm clearly not in the majority, because for many people, Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of, if not the greatest games of all time.
I haven't
they love
not played
just-
it because it's big. I just haven't played it because I just had never got around to it.
Because that was literally it for me. I'd love to experience the story. I've thought on many occasions throughout the years since it's come out, like, I'd love to play that, but it's just too big and I don't have the time to commit to it. And that's a real shame. And people do, like, even Baldur's Gate 3, people love getting lost in it.
I loved that.
They love just, like, taking their time and making their way through at their own pace. And I don't know if it's something fundamentally broken in me, but I can't play games like that anymore. Not just like I can't play games of that genre anymore. Like I cannot approach games in that fashion anymore. Like there's something preventing me from doing that. I need to make meaningful progress every time I play it, which is ultimately having a negative impact on how I enjoy.
You haven't got time to
a
stop
game.
and smell the roses.
Exactly, and that makes it very difficult to experience games like that. And but people love them, and as long as people love them and buy them, you're right.
Yeah, just punch the desk.
Smash the. As long as people continue to buy them in their tens of millions of units, then we're just going to keep getting this stuff. I don't see an end to it.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of two things really, which is that there are some people like you and me who there has perhaps been a change in them or the time that they've got or their kind of preferences, and so you've got that aspect of it, which isn't true of everyone. You know, even people of our age, some people are probably still enjoying massive stuff. And then combined with that, I think if you look back to a period of time where it was always that bigger is better, because we were at a point there where we were starting to overcome limitations that had really been holding games back at the time. Something like Oblivion comes out and you're like, this is amazing. You know, look at the size of this thing, look at everything you can do. And that mentality really like fueled this whole idea and like gave it momentum, the idea that bigger is better. And maybe now we got so much momentum in that we've kind of overshot the ideal. That's what I would say. And again, it might only be true to certain people. And I think you make a point as well, Ashton, which is that as long as you're filling the world with interesting things, that's a lot better than a big empty world for sure. But yeah.
Also, traversal's a great point as well. And Spider-Man 2 is specifically, we waxed lyrical about how not only fun the traversal was, but just how quickly you could get around the city.
Yeah.
If more games allowed you the freedom of movement that Spider-Man 2 did, and I get you can't be a Spider-Man in the Old West, you can't do that. But if there was functionality that didn't necessarily break immersion, or you gave people the option to have like an immersive Wild West experience, like Wild West mode, you turn that on, everything's in real time, you can't skip journeys, you got to get carriages everywhere, whatever. Let those guys have that.
Yeah.
But please let me just zip around the map to my heart's content, because I promise you it's not going to break the immersion. I want to experience your game, but I have a time limit that I'm working against.
Yeah.
So please let me see it conveniently.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm starting to smell something a bit stinky peculiar.
You.
And something that's hitting the headlines, if you will.
Someone dragged some weird news in on their shoes today.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's smeared all over the carpet.
Oh, God.
It's weird news time.
It's weird news time for some weird video game news. Remember, if you'd like to submit some weird video game news to us, you can do so under the relevant social media post that goes out on a Wednesday, which allows for more news to be submitted. Thank you for asking. However, if you'd like to guarantee a shout out at this point in the podcast, you go to patreon.com/Team TripleJump, support us at the appropriate tier, and become a podcast producer just like
Chip Thompson's thumbs.
Gabrielle Philipping.
G.Y. Goliath,
Nexus Polaris.
Nicole Hansen.
Blake Thomas,
David Cam.
Eric Siu.
Great Giggity,
Michael Pendlebury.
And Katie Garrod.
and also big money
Sorry.
Bobby Vegas.
Beep.
Wah.
Sorry, I did an extra and there.
It threw me off.
Sorry about that.
and
Sorry.
Katie Garrett.
And
Wah.
Katie Garrod.
Wah. You got some weird news there, Peter.
I've got some weird news here that was sent to us from Ali Holland, top fan.
Wow.
I think it's Ali, A-L-E-A. Could be Alia, perhaps.
Yeah.
But,
Cool name.
thanks for sending it, top fan.
We're thanking Ashton for saying cool name.
Cool name, thanks.
Thanks so much.
This is according to the Gamer Ant, and it's
Love
written
that
by
guy.
Carly Garcia, who says, Larian reveals how many copies of Baldur's Gate 3 have been sold at the Vatican.
Ah.
Loads.
Hundreds.
According to Larian Studios, 2 copies of Baldur's Gate 3 have been sold in the Vatican, with 1 copy currently on a citizen's wish list. Released in August 2023, Baldur's Gate 3 continues to amass new fans and win awards, cementing its status as one of the most influential RPGs of the last decade. Selling over 10 million copies, blah, 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 blah. As copies continue to fly off the shelves and the game still finds itself being honoured at events around the world, a curious statistic about Baldur's Gate 3 is stirring up some hilarious conversation on social media.
What is it? What's the
Want to
conversation,
know what
Peter?
the statistic is?
You'll never guess.
A new Twitter post made by Larian's director of publishing, Michael Dowse, notes that 2 copies of the game have been sold in the Vatican, with another copy added to someone's wish list. I'd like to think the latter is just the Pope waiting until he has a free minute, Dowse wrote. As the current population of the Vatican City sits at 764 people, 2 copies sold boosts the number of Baldur's Gate 3 players in the city-state by 0.2%. Half of the population lives outside the Vatican itself, with around 100 citizens employed by the Papal Swiss Guard. Still, fans on social media are choosing to believe that members of the Catholic Church are eager to romance shadow
Way
art
more
in their
fun,
spare
isn't it?
time. Yeah. Wish I could see their mod list, Dowse continued. Bet it's absolutely gnarly. Goodness me. There's then just more stats about how it runs on PS4 Pro, what frame rate it, really just padding it all out. But the story is that maybe the Pope is playing Baldur's Gate, but probably not.
He is playing it.
Because lots of
It's the Pope.
non-papal people live in the Vatican.
No, Peter, it's the Pope that's playing it.
It's the
Pope wants to
Pope.
play it.
It's
and
the
one
Pope
member of
and
the
the
Swiss
Cardinal.
Guard.
That's
Yeah.
what's playing
A lot of
it.
demons in that game.
Do you think they have to release white
yeah.
smoke when they make a new character, perhaps?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a Vatican reference.
It is.
Now it's time for my news.
Thanks.
It's got nothing to do with the Pope or the Catholic Church.
Oh,
thank
Sort
God.
of. Comes from @CT Thumbs. I think that's Chip Thompson's
Chris.
thumbs
Chris.
on Twitter. From PC Gamer by Lincoln Carpenter.
Lincoln Parkington.
Yes.
PC Gamer, my favourite policeman.
Eventually she'll be able to finish the
To appease the Steam users' demand for a straight representation, Web Fishing added a straight title that cost 9,999 fish bucks. Some people are just fishing for attention. Web Fishing, the delightful $5 chat room fishing game released last month, includes a selection of cosmetic titles you can collect to display to other players below your username. Many are goofs, like Little Lad or Fliphead.
I'm a little lad.
Others, like the gay, a spy, and trans titles, offer players a chance to express their sexuality or gender identity. One keen intellectual on Steam discussion forums, however, noticed the lack of a title for straight people and felt compelled to raise the issue. At time of writing, it's unclear whether they'd noticed the vast majority of other human media that assumes a default straight perspective, easy to miss. But as a straight guy, I promise you, we're doing fine on that front. And yet, not everyone can read the room well enough that they don't need to wonder why an indie game featuring a bunch of anthropomorphic cats and dogs might not be centering the straight experience. It's a skill you develop, I guess. Despite the goofus behaviour, however, web phishing developer Lame Developer was, as a sign of benevolence, receptive to the suggestion. As part of its 1.09 housecleaning update, web phishing now offers the straight title. It costs $9,999 in-game dollars. For comparison, other purchasable titles cost $75. I'll also note that this is the only orientation-oriented title with the quotation marks. Pretty good bit. Straight. The housecleaning update other additions include bug and performance fixes and a non-binary shirt and title. There is also a note, added PC Gamer. How dare you? It just popped up like, you want to put your email in? No. It also added the question mark, which is accessed through the question mark, and ? Yeah. Seems fine. Personally, I'm feeling an affinity with a new creature title. I'll probably pick that up the next time I'm in the mood for a web phishing fix.
Right, that for context, that was a patch note.
It was one of the patch notes says added the question mark,
which is accessed through the
and then the end of the patch mark says yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Just thought I'd read all the question marks, thought it'd be fun, but I guess
really
maybe
fun.
I shouldn't have
I
done
enjoyed
that
it.
because I don't feel like you liked it. Anyway, that's done now. I'm finished talking now.
It's not about whether we liked it.
talk
It's
now.
the important thing
You
is
do whatever
sharing.
you want to
Just
do
talking about
now.
it.
Oh
I'm
no.
upset now, Peter.
Just read your news.
Well, I didn't do anything. My goodness. I'm just a colleague over here. I've not done anything wrong.
Hey, I'm in a fight with my best friend. Can you just read the news?
Sure. Okay. I'll be the upstanding colleague.
Yeah.
This news comes courtesy of Stephen Skodes at sskodes8 and Lloyd Williams, top fan.
No
Maybe a
relation?
on Facebook. Not sure. This comes from Kotaku by John Walker. Breaking: Nintendo says not to let your pets piss on your Switch.
Okay.
Nor should you snap it in half and feed it to a lion. Is the subtitle.
Oh.
What?
No, stop. It turns out you shouldn't let your dog piss all over your Switch. This is the radical new advice coming from Nintendo Japan's customer service, where a statement posted on Twitter explains that pet urine will, in fact, cause your electronic devices some manner of harm.
Oh.
This pop-up peculiar message appeared on the
Stinky
official
peculiar.
Nintendo support Twitter
stinks like piss.
account for Japan, in which it warned pet owners against leaving their Nintendo Switch unsupervised around their animals. Via machine translation and indeed via Nintendo Life Random. Nintendo's message explains that when you take your eyes off it, your pet turns your Nintendo Switch into a toy. I mean, that's a bit unfair.
Mine
it is
don't.
already pretty much a toy. It seems it's more that the company is worried they'll play with it the wrong way. By the time you notice, it's already covered in drool, is another quote. I have 3 cats. I don't care. The tweet continues, pet saliva and urine can cause the device to malfunction due to water exposure. If you have pets, be careful about where you place your Switch. Pets
Put it in the litter tray.
No.
seems
your
to
own
be
fault, really.
doing rather a lot of work, trying to cover up for the real culprits here. Dogs. Just name them, Nintendo. Stop trying to be all woke and refusing to profile. We've also got a pet corn snake, and I'm not in the least concerned about Cornflake running my Switch under the faucet. This article is mad.
Yeah.
However,
A
according
corn snake called Cornflake is great.
It is good,
The
though.
snake at our school was called Cornflake.
Really?
Yeah.
However, according to the image accompanying the warning, it looks like Nintendo might be more concerned about rabid foxes than anything else. There you go.
That's
the,
a Shiba,
That's the image there. Well, I
isn't
don't know.
it? That's not a fox.
You need to leave a comment.
I've seen foxes before,
You need to leave a
and
comment.
that's
at the
not a
end.
fox.
So I don't know what's prompted them to do this, but I do know that Nintendo specifically have gotten in a lot of trouble in the past with the Virtual Boy over not issuing correct warnings. And there's like a law in Japan where you have to basically warn against every conceivable thing
Yeah.
that you could do with an object, even though most of it's common sense, like don't put in the microwave and things, which is probably
Yeah.
why they've done this.
Do you think that like they've been getting an influx of complaints / requests for repairs because dogs have been pissing on Switch.
Dogs have peed on Switch.
Do you
That's
think
what I
like
was
maybe
saying.
that there's a game that's come out that like has a certain hum to it that makes dogs wee on it?
Oh.
Yeah, possibly.
What are you suggesting there's
Mario
one?
Party Jamboree.
Oh, really?
The music makes all the dogs wee.
Oh, my God.
It's like brown noise, but yellow noise.
Yellow noise.
That's bad. Well, I hope that doesn't happen when we're streaming later and we all just pee.
All those dogs
That'd
in
be
the office,
bad.
yeah.
Well, there we are. That's my weird news.
Oh.
Wow, thank you.
Which means it's time for the big discussion. It's big discussion time. Time for the big discussion this week. It comes courtesy of Nexus Polaris, who says, "Hi, Bap.
Hello.
There has been recent news coming from Xbox Philip Spencer. Recently, he spoke about the possibility of more Xbox games coming to competing consoles, including the upcoming Halo game. Do you think it's a solid idea? Will it dilute the Xbox brand? Or does this play into the rumors that Xbox may cease console manufacturing operations altogether in the coming years? Your thoughts, please. And remember to follow, like, and subscribe to the TripleJump podcast channel. Cheers, Nexie."
Thank you,
very
Nexus, for
much.
doing that. Call to action for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Phil actually said way more than just the stuff about games.
quite a lot
Yes.
came out in
So
this
I don't think they
interview.
will be stopping manufacturing of hardware.
I don't think so.
Spoilers, spoilers.
I'm not saying any more.
So this is from a big Bloomberg interview, which we're not reading because it's behind a paywall.
No, it's not.
Oh, is it not?
Oh, well, it wasn't for me. Someone gifted me it. I clicked on it and it said, "You've been gifted this article from a
Lucky.
Bloomberg subscriber." And I was like,
You should
How
have
does that work?
I don't know, but it came up and I was like, "Oh my God, Jason, thank you."
You should have stood up and gone, "Guys, free access to this
Free
Bloomberg article." And we all would have
article.
crowded round like
Sorry.
emaciated
I got really excited when I clicked on it. And
news
it worked.
house. Please let us have a bit of Bloomberg.
Yeah.
I want to see it. So this write-up comes from a couple of articles from Tom Phillips at Eurogamer. Which I said like it's a massive disappointment compared to going to come from Tom
It's not
Phillips.
Jason Schreier at Bloomberg.
Xbox boss Phil Spencer has said there's nothing stopping any of the company's games coming to Nintendo or PlayStation platforms in the future. "I do not see sort of red lines in our portfolio that say thou must not," Spencer told Bloomberg from the Vatican, adding that it was still too early to discuss Microsoft's plans for the next Halo, now being built in the cross-platform friendly Unreal Engine. Xbox, I'm moving on to the next thing. Xbox launched Pentiment, Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, and Sea of Thieves across a mixture of PlayStation and Nintendo Switch consoles earlier this year to some success, with more than 1 million sales reported for Rare's popular piratical live service game.
Piratical.
Microsoft will follow this with a PlayStation launch for Xbox's biggest Christmas blockbuster, Indy and His Jones and the Great Circle, early next year. The expectation is that many other Xbox games will follow. In a wide-ranging interview, Spencer also discussed his long-held desire to launch some kind of Xbox handheld. Spencer, a keen handheld PC enthusiast, told Polygon that Microsoft was... he's talking to Polygon as well. He's talking to everyone. Told Polygon that Microsoft was discussing different hardware form factors and things that they could go do to grow the Xbox audience further. "What should we build that will find new players?" Spencer mused. "That will allow people to play at times when they couldn't go play in the past." End quote. In the nearer term, Spencer said he was keen to improve the Xbox
Why is he
experience
talking like this?
on existing PC hacks because he's got like 5 microphones
He's
in front
a
of him.
poet.
He's answering loads of questions
Thou
at
must
once.
not play.
Games where you haven't been able to in the past.
Yes.
He was keen to improve the Xbox experience on existing PC handheld hardware, such as the Steam Deck, Lenovo Legion Go, and Asus ROG Ally, and has a list of new features in mind. Spencer also said Xbox still definitely wants to be in the market to acquire other companies. Boo!
No.
Following Microsoft's record-setting $68.7 billion buyout of Activision Blizzard. That said, deals of similar size were currently unlikely due to the still ongoing process of merging in Activision teams or just letting them go.
Yeah.
The Xbox chief said he was still looking for deals that added geographic diversity, such as teams in Asia, despite it walking away from Hi-Fi Rush studio Tango Gameworks earlier this year. The Xbox business has never been more healthy, Spencer concluded when asked how
because
he
you-
felt about 20... Yeah.
Killed a bunch of studios, Spencer.
Yeah, your outgoings are a lot lower now, sadly.
When asked how he felt about 2025 after a year punctuated by repeated layoffs, "The business is performing right now, and I think that means a more healthy future for hardware and the games we build." So, a lot to cover
A lot
there. First up, let's talk about there being, I do not see sort of red lines in our portfolio that say thou must not.
I think a couple of years ago, if he'd said this, I would have thought that's a really bad idea for Xbox. They should not be putting Halo, for example, on, say, the PS4 back then. But now that Game Pass is a thing, you know, it's... I don't know how that factors into things, because yes, or I might be able to get a certain number of Xbox games on my Sony console and say, oh, you know, I don't need to buy an Xbox anymore because they're throwing it all over the place. You know, I can play it here. But you then have the tempting value for money of Game Pass. So it's almost a bit counterintuitive to think that, you know, by offering games elsewhere, that's actually going to benefit, or it's not going to harm them in terms of people coming to their hardware, because, you know, I think that they gain the sales from the people who are staunchly never ever going to buy an Xbox, and they're saying, I'm sticking with my PlayStation, that's all I want. Oh, I can play Halo, the next one, on my PS5. Great. But they don't then lose out, because Game Pass, certainly at the moment, we'll see, you know, how things go if they put the price up again long term. But at the moment, it's such good value for money that if you want to play Halo, why not get Game Pass and play loads of other things too?
Oh, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I think this is a good thing. I've often talked about how I would love to see the big companies start sharing more between the bunch of them. I think that being able to getting your game out to more people is never going to be a bad thing. And I think that Xbox are aware that the PlayStation 5 has outsold them and has kind of done much better than the Series X/S. And I think that they've kind of got to a point now where keeping their games on solely Xbox consoles just does not make sense anymore. Obviously, we've seen them like broach out a little bit when it comes to Game Pass, in terms of these games are now available on PC day one as well. And if you've got PC Game Pass, they're very easy to access. So we've already seen them branching out. It's just now a matter of putting them on PlayStation. I think that, like, if they were to put games on Nintendo Switch, I don't think people would be that worried about it. But I think because they're saying PlayStation as well, that's when people start to worry more, because those are the big rivals at this point in time. I think what Xbox are doing games-wise over the next year sound really interesting, and I think it would be great to see those games come to PlayStation, because it benefits the gamers, it benefits the developers, it benefits the publishers. Everyone who is involved in games benefits from it if you put those games on other consoles. So I think it's great, and I would love to see some more games trundle over to PlayStation, even if it's delayed. Like, I think like a temporary, what's it called when it's like timed exclusive? Yeah. I think that that's a great way of doing it, and I think what they're doing with Indiana Jones is great, and I think it makes complete sense to be like, if you want to play it now, Xbox. If you want to wait 6 months, you wait 6 months and play on PlayStation if you really want to. If that's your prerogative. But yeah, I think it's a great thing, and I'd love to see more games. I mean, I don't have like an emotional attachment to Halo, so it was never going to upset me if Halo starts.
Chuggy game.
It's a chuggy game
Yeah.
if Halo comes to PlayStation, but I can see why some of the die-hard Xbox fans might be
I
worried
can
about
see
it.
that, but I don't agree with them.
I still think, as we said before, a lot of the people who grew up with Halo are probably on PlayStation now and would relish it. And even though Game Pass is the best value in gaming, and you can Halo going, the Master Chief Collection going on PlayStation would be great advertising for Game Pass. Like, oh, you can buy it here, or you can come play it for free. They may not be in a position to drop £400 on another console, but they are willing to buy a game that contains many games that they loved back in the day. And you also got Muggins over here who'd love to get some trophies in it and like play it on a PlayStation with their
That'd
friends
be weird,
and stuff.
getting trophies in Halo.
Bizarre, isn't it? No, I also think this is a good idea. This is definitely the approach that they've been talking about for a while. Every time he talks about this now, it just seems to be more and more likely that we're going to be getting some of the big hitting exclusives.
He's trying to prepare the Xbox faithful, I think.
I think so. And I don't think it's necessary. I mean, obviously, as we'll talk about in a second, it's not a sign of them getting out of the hardware market. I think it's just a case of them trying to make as much money from their IP as possible. And I think that's sensible, especially in terms of supporting Game Pass. We know that, what was it, like 75% or something of Black Ops 6 sales were on PlayStation? Or there was some crazy statistic that came out the other day.
There was a bit, it was a big chunk of people.
Which is not
PlayStation.
surprising because, like, who's buying it on Xbox?
Yeah.
If you just get it on Game Pass.
Yeah, true.
So they're losing sales there. So it makes absolute, and you know, Call of Duty is not the same as Gears of War in that Call of Duty has always been available on PlayStation. So potentially they might have seen a bit of a loss there. Don't know how they will recoup that loss in terms of new Game Pass subscriptions and people signing up, but there was an uptick.
Yeah,
sure.
there was a big uptick in Xbox Game Pass subscriptions when Call of Duty launched. So it's like definitely, you know, that's benefited them a lot to put it on everything. And I wonder if since having this acquisition and being aware that there's going to have to be cross-platform games launching from Xbox Studios, I wonder if it's made it a bit of an easier transition and sell to be like, well, these ones have to go everywhere, so why not just try it with some other things and see how that works as well. I think it makes complete sense.
It's kind of a superficial difference, but it almost feels to me that, you know, PlayStation, as they always have been, are you know, we make this console, we make this hardware, and then we provide you games for it to play so that you hopefully buy our console. It feels to me almost like Xbox is transitioning towards we're like a game publisher or like a game service provider with Game Pass. And yeah, we've got an Xbox as well. You can play it on that, or we've got this handheld coming out. But you know, it's like their focus is shifting more towards their software rather than their hardware. Not that it means that I agree that I don't think they're going to suddenly stop producing new generations of Xbox, but you know, they're trying to tempt people over to Game Pass more than their console as such, even though they're kind of, you know, in parallel.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the proposed handheld then. Definitely sounds like it's in the concept stage, but the fact that he's even talking about it is pretty revealing.
He said it was a few years off yet, so we're not going to see it anytime soon.
What kind of approach do you think they're going to take? Is it going to be a portal type device where it just streams? Because in my experience, remote play is hands down better than the version that's built into the Xbox app where you can stream from your Xbox to your phone. I found that really spotty. So perhaps beefing up that and just having a dedicated pretty device that you can stream your Xbox games to or stream Game Pass to.
I mean, their cloud gaming system, like that they have built into Game Pass, does work really well. And I haven't paid for cloud for a while because I've not needed it. But when I was paying for it, I never had any issues streaming games as long as my Wi-Fi was strong enough. You know, that was the biggest issue.
I think the best thing to do would be to have just create a little handheld portable Game Pass device where you just connect it to some Wi-Fi and you can play Game Pass remotely. Just stream the games to it, because as you say, Ben, people who might be tempted by Game Pass because it is, you know, such a good deal, might still think, oh yeah, it is really tempting, but I will actually have to buy a whole new console to play it. And all right, once I've made that purchase, then, you know, I'm going to enjoy all the fruits of Game Pass, but I do have to make that initial investment, unless I want to play over on PC, which is an option. You might already have a PC where you can play some of the stuff over there. But to just have what would presumably be a cheaper device that allows you to sit in bed and play a AAA game on a little tiny handheld device, just stream it, then I think that would be a really great way to introduce more people to Game Pass who maybe their final hurdle is, I will have to buy a whole new console for it though. So, you know, I'm really tempted, but I don't want to sink that investment into it.
Now you can already stream on some TVs and things like that.
Yeah.
Right.
So if people want to do that, they can. But I do like it definitely backs up his philosophy and the things Big Phil has said in the past about wanting every screen to be a Game Pass thing. So why, if Microsoft want to open their unlimited money box, why wouldn't they just have? Why wouldn't you just have a little dedicated device that just does cloud gaming on it? I
think that there's two ways that Game Pass or the Xbox can use this handheld. You've either got the system that is very like affordable, a bit like the Switch, that will run Xbox games via the cloud, and you can install some like smaller games on it, but won't actively run that many games. Or they go the route of the Steam Deck and the Lenovo and the Asus, whatever they're called, and you beef up a handheld that will run games that you can install games on, that you can bring with you wherever you are, and you can play them however you feel like you want to play them. But it's a device that in itself has the power to run these games. I personally would much prefer a device that I can install games on and that will run games and I can have as a little portable Xbox. That would be grand. I would happily put some money into that because I play a lot of games on Game Pass and I think it would be great to have that. I mean, less so now because I don't travel that much around, but if I was traveling a lot, it would be very handy. I think that maybe they'll go down the affordable kind of like, because we've seen that the best, like the thing that's sold really well is the S, the Series S, which is more affordable. So I wonder if they'll head down the route of an affordable console that will run the games via the cloud or some system, rather than a beefier device that will install and run the games natively. So I think that will be an interesting thing to see where they go down. But I do think we'll still get a mini console like we were talking about, because they've said that they're working on something that will change. They're looking to find the next big change in what consoles can do. So I wonder if we'll see a handheld and maybe a like not a dock as such, but a device that is not necessarily a console but will stream games from the cloud onto devices.
I would just say, speaking of the S, though, we've already heard from developers that,
it's difficult to develop.
They're like, oh, it's annoying that we have to make these S versions of the games. And again, like, no matter how beefed up a handheld Xbox series would be, it certainly wouldn't be as good as an X. It might not even be quite as good as an actual just big S plugged into your TV. So, how would that then?
Well, things like the Steam Deck can run some pretty big games.
Well, yeah, true. It depends how
those are essentially
but
PCs, but small. So that's the thing, is whether they go down that route and they try and put a bit more technical hardware in it, and it is a bit pricier, but it runs the games.
Yeah.
Or if they go for essentially a handheld Series S, and you can't install games on it, but it runs them from the cloud.
Yeah, just I wonder, would that then muddy the waters even more for developers who are already like, oh, we've got to like make a version for X, make a version for S, and then, potentially are you adding a third version into the mix?
For me, I think actually making a Steam Deck kind of thing would probably be a mistake for them. I'd love that. I think it would be very practical, but just from the ones that are already listed there, it's a relatively crowded market. I think
and the Steam Deck's dominating it. The other two don't get a lot.
And he's got to know that if he's a fan of that kind of gaming anyway. So for my money, if I was in charge of Xbox, if I was Xbox man, I would make a dedicated Xbox Game Pass device that has a dock that does need to run over Wi-Fi or over you can tether to your phone, whatever, and it's just a cloud gaming machine. It's got a nice display, and you can check into your hotel, put it in the dock, play with an Xbox controller, and play. And I know that there's like your Ben has a lot of tips and tricks and hacks and lots of different devices for when he travels around a lot. There's lots of ways you can do that now, but cutting that out and releasing your own official one, I feel like that would probably be a pretty good idea.
Yeah, MB has a little dock that he can sit on the top of an Xbox controller that he can play games on his phone from Game Pass from the cloud.
And he's got the crazy little switch adapter as well.
And he's got just a switch adapter where you can just plug it without the dock anywhere you feel the need.
HDMI out.
And then he also has a little, another device that does something that I don't understand, that is very, again, similar to making
Every time
it
you see him, he just opens his coat. And
he's got
Raspberry
this
Pi.
big
so many
black
dongles.
backpack that is always full of stuff. And I'm like, what is in there? And he's like, well, there's this and this and this
My
and
dongles.
this
Gotta
and
have
my
my
dongles, my wire collection, my dongles.
adapters, yeah.
He never leaves the house without more than one HDMI cable on.
Honestly,
that guy is always packing.
It's true.
He's ready.
He will always have an HDMI cable.
The final thing, which I suppose we don't need to spend too much time talking about, is that they definitely want to be in the market to acquire other companies, specifically targeting geographic diversity, so they can spread their reach across the land. Quite frankly, I think the biggest hurdle for them here will be, is any court in the land going to approve it after they made so many grand promises about Activision Blizzard? And no, this won't destabilize things. There won't be job losses, and thousands of people have lost their jobs.
It depends what kind of studio we're looking at. If we're looking at a tiny little indie studio in China or, something like that, then I don't know if that's going to be a huge issue. But I do think that if I was the judge in charge of it, I'd be like, absolutely not.
Nope.
Of course, no, you cannot. But
That's
I
the
do
thing.
think it's difficult.
If they try and purchase sort of small to medium, small enough size studios, there might not be a kind of a monopoly issue. The problem they had with Activision, obviously, was it's such a big company
Absolutely
that it
massive.
had to go through, the courts. Whereas I don't know the law, but I think if you want to go for a much smaller entity, I don't know if maybe everything has to go through the courts technically, but it rarely throws up an issue.
Yeah.
Or maybe if it's small enough, you don't even have to run it through certain processes.
They're also not above bullying and blackmail, which is what we literally saw them threaten the UK government when they were stalling over it. Like they have.
Guess what games won't come out in your country then?
Guess we'll pull Microsoft offices out of your country as well.
Yeah.
There'll
how
just
you
be job
function
losses.
then.
Like they have unlimited money, and that translates to an awful lot of power, and they have a lot of say. So if any countries do dig their heels in, unless it's the EU, who I feel like cannot be easily bullied, then they're not above using that power to just make it happen, and that's pretty frightening. So hopefully it won't come to that. He said that it's not going to be on the same scale as an Activision Blizzard, but there
isn't really
There aren't any
anyone left
No.
that's at the same scale as that. It's like if they were to buy Sony, and you can't do that. But I can't think of anyone.
The only
That was
thing
at
that
the
comes
same
close is
level as-
EA, and
Yeah,
then
that's
behind
true.
that you've got. I mean, I don't know how Ubisoft is
Ubisoft
faring
isn't-
now, but then you've
but
also
it's
got the
quite-
big Japanese publishers as well.
Yeah,
Ubisoft
Square
sound like
Enix,
they are desperately looking for buyers, and
Please buy us.
yeah.
Please do it. Capcom, Konami, all sorts. Anyway,
Yeah.
hopefully that doesn't happen. But an awful lot there from Big Philip telling us all about what he's thinking.
He's always yapping, is Big Philip.
I bet he
always
also
just
said what he
talking
had for
about
breakfast
stuff.
that day as well.
Yeah.
I bet that was also a
Jason.
separate
eating
article.
breakfast while they had the
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they just invited them round just for a conversation. This is on the record, by the way.
And he's like,
I had
yeah.
toast for breakfast.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know, Phil. Thank you. Let us know what you thought of everything we discussed today. Thank you very much for listening. Just a few things to talk about before we go. Peter is going to tell you where we are on the internet.
Yes, I am. You can find us at youtube.com and twitch.tv/Team TripleJump. Of course, YouTube, the home of all our videos, and both are the home of our live streams, mostly Twitch, but sometimes on YouTube. And if you've got Amazon Prime, the bundle you are paying for includes a Twitch sub at no extra cost, so you can redeem that against us and get all the benefits of being a subscriber.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, on all of which we are at Team TripleJump.
And Blue Sky.
And Blue Sky as well. I forgot about that one. And patreon.com/Team TripleJump if you'd like to support us.
TripleJump.mup is our website. There you can find links to everything that we do. And why not leave a 5-star review on your platform of choice? It helps something to do with Al Gore's rhythms. Thank you, everybody. Before I read the sponsor, if you're still listening, firstly, you are a real one, as they say. And secondly, if you're a patron, please do submit podcast questions. They've been a little dry recently. That's not criticism of the questions, but I mean as in the well of questions that's coming in on a weekly basis. I feel like people perhaps are thinking, it's all right, other people will submit questions. It's fine. We've always been fine. But don't forget to lock your questions in at the start of the week when the post goes live. Anything that's happening in the news, we'd love to be asked about it for a chance to be featured on the show.
You probably get picked if you find one of the biggest stories of the week. Stick it in there.
Practically a cert.
Very likely, yeah.
So thank you in advance. This week's sponsor is, of course, the renaming of Dragon Quest III HD2D Remake to Dragon Quest III HD HDR 1D, 2D, 3D, 4D, VR, AR, 4K, 8K Remake, Remaster, Reimagining, which is out very soon, if not already. So go check it out. Thanks, everyone. We will see you at SMTJ Live next week. Yes. In fact, the podcast will be releasing as we go live, I think. So make sure you're tuning in. If you listen to the first few minutes of this as soon as it comes out and goes, oh God, it's SMTJ Day, make sure you go tune in. All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.